And that concludes my opening remarks. And with that, it's my great pleasure to introduce to you the chair of the PCAOB, Erica Williams. I've had the great pleasure and honor of working with Erica since she joined the PCAOB. And it's really been a great privilege to work with her and her staff, as it is to work with all of my fellow PCAOB staff. Erica, I can tell you from my personal experience, has really reinvigorated the work that we are trying to do on behalf of investors and working with firms like yours to make sure we're all serving their interests and their needs. She's really brought a great energy to the position and has really reinvigorated, as I said, the staff and when we come to the office every day, and has really made the PCAOB a great place to work. It's like I said, it's great to have her here after we tried our hardest last year, but COVID got in the way. We avoided it as long as we could, but in any event, it was really important that when we kick off this year's forums that we start them in Chicago, and that Erica wanted to make sure she could make it here in person, and I'm thrilled that she's here to do that. And with that, Erica Williams, thanks.
Thank you, Kent. Good morning, everyone. I want to thank Kent, and I want to thank the Office of Communications and Engagement for everything that they do to put on these forums. I want to give a special shout out to Brian Goodnow, who's in the back of the room, for everything that he's done to ensure that events like this are a success. And I also want to recognize our expert staff from our Division of Registration and Inspections, our Division of Enforcement and Investigation, and our Office of the Chief Auditor, who you will hear from later today. I am continuously impressed by the work ethic and experience and know-how and dedication of our incredible staff. Nothing we do is possible without them, and they are a tremendous resource for you, and I hope that you will take advantage of the expertise that they're offered during the forum today. And finally, I want to give a thank you to the staff from the SEC and FINRA for their participation in the forum. Before I begin, I'm also going to give the standard disclaimer that the views I express are my own and not necessarily those of the PCAOB board members or our talented and dedicated staff. The PCAOB has always appreciated the important role of auditors of small businesses and broker-dealers. Auditors of small businesses and broker-dealers have a crucial position in the financial reporting ecosystem, applying their expertise, professional judgment, and skepticism to drive audit quality. Today, there are more than 500 triennially inspected PCAOB registered firms that either audit or play a substantial role in the audits of over 3,200 public company issuers. As it relates to the audits of broker-dealers, more than 280 registered firms audit approximately 3,300 SEC-registered broker-dealers. Simply put, your work as auditors of small businesses and broker-dealers is vital to ensuring that the U.S. capital markets remain the envy of the world. And that is why these forums have been a priority to the PCAOB since the very first one in 2004. This is an opportunity for us to hear directly from you and to learn more about your work and the challenges you may face, and learn from you directly and allow you to hear from our expert staff. Before we move into those discussions, I want to spend a few minutes on the work that our staff has been doing to advance audit quality and our investor protection mission, and how the PCAOB stays mindful of the challenges affecting smaller firms and broker-dealers, beginning with our standards. As part of our standard setting and rulemaking agenda and process, the PCAOB puts an incredible emphasis on incorporating feedback from a wide variety of stakeholders, including smaller firms. We know that smaller firms have unique challenges and needs, so we want to ensure that our standards and rules are scalable for firms of all sizes. That approach is incorporated into the new quality control standard, QC 1000. A firm's QC system influences virtually all firm activities. When QC systems operate ineffectively, investors are put at risk. But when QC systems operate effectively, quality audits are likely to follow. We know that risks vary from firm to firm, so a one-size-fits-all approach is not the best way to keep investors protected. The new standard requires firms of all sizes to identify their specific risks and design a QC system that includes policies and procedures to guard against those risks. Similarly, we took special care in our AS1000, or General Responsibilities of the Auditor project, which included amendments to an audit documentation standard that require firms to assemble a complete and final set of audit documentation for retention within 14 days after the release date. While many larger firms are already operating within this window, we know that smaller firms may need more time to make the change. So we took the phased-in approach to implementation. For firms that issued audit reports for more than 100 issuers, the new 14-day document completion date became effective for audits of financial statements for fiscal years beginning on or after December 15, 2024. For all other registered public accounting firms, like many of you here today, the new requirement is effective for audits of financial statements for fiscal years beginning on or after December 15, 2025. Once a new standard, rule, or related amendments becomes effective, we don't stop considering the views of smaller firms. Through surveys and other means of communication, we continue gathering information about the impact on firms of all sizes, and we want to know how implementation is going and whether challenges are developing. As many of you are preparing for these upcoming changes, the PCAOB is ready to help. Our expert staff have been hard at work publishing many different types of materials, from guidance documents to recordings featuring our expert staff on the upcoming changes to QC 1000, AS 1000, and other newly adopted standard setting and rulemaking projects. If you haven't already, please check out our website where you can find these resources, as well as other tools and information, including two ways you can contact us should you have questions, either directly by phone or through filling out an online form. We are also planning 2 upcoming in-person and virtual workshops, which our staff will host to support smaller firms' QC 1000 implementation efforts. One workshop will be conducted in Washington, D.C. on May 13th, and another one is planned to be held in Dallas, Texas in early summer. Stay tuned for more information on those opportunities, which will be released in the coming weeks. In addition to implementing these new standards, we're also continuing to enhance our inspections program, one of the most important tools we have to keep investors protected. Earlier this week, we released a summary of our inspection results for 2024, where we saw significant improvements in aggregate deficiency rates across all inspected firms, including smaller firms who audit 100 or fewer issuers each year. Although the same smaller firms are not expected year to year, taken together with the improvements that we're seeing across firms, it's clear that we're seeing real progress that leaves investors better protected. Still, our work is far from over, and I urge the profession to continue to build on this momentum. Just as with standard implementation, the PCAOB is here to help. In addition to detailing the inspection findings, the Spotlight released earlier this week also includes good practices to help firms continue to improve. I also want to take a moment to give our staff a shout out for publishing the Spotlight months or sooner than in previous years. This requires an extraordinary amount of work on their part, and they go that extra mile because we know the sooner we get information to you, the more useful it is. Similarly, our broker-dealer Spotlight will provide good practices and resources to help you improve your audit execution when it's released later this year. In the meantime, you can find last year's report on our website. And these are just 2 of the many spotlights we released to provide you with resources and information. In November, we launched an Audit Focus series, a series of PCAOB staff publications that are tailored specifically for small firms. Its aim is to provide succinct, easy-to-digest information to help you. The questions and comments you share at these forums and your interactions with our staff throughout the year help us determine which topics to focus on next. If you're not receiving Audit Focus reports and other documents, I encourage you to sign up on our website. We recently added a dedicated page on the website just for auditors of small firms, and it's a one-stop shop for resources tools and information specifically designed for smaller firms in mind. And you can also sign up for our latest emails for smaller firm practitioners. If you haven't checked out the website and seen our new smaller firm page, I encourage you to do so and let us know what you think, because we want to hear your feedback. And of course, we are continually monitoring developments with smaller firms through our inspections. This not only informs our rulemaking and standard setting activities, but assists us in identifying issues and challenges facing smaller firms where guidance might be helpful. And I want to encourage you to please talk to us during the inspection cycle and beyond. Please reach out to our inspection staff with questions and provide insights. We want to hear from you, and we want to learn more about your work and your unique challenges. And finally, we continue to expand our outreach. And that's why we're here today before all of you. These forums give us an opportunity to share valuable resources and information, and it also gives us a chance to hear from you directly. So I want to emphasize that the work that you do as auditors of small businesses and broker-dealers is indispensable to the strength and integrity of our financial markets. I encourage you to take advantage of the resources and tools we've developed. Stay connected with us, share your perspectives. They are invaluable to the future of audit quality. And I want to thank you again for being here, and I look forward to taking your questions.
Thank you very much for that, Chair Williams. And again, as I covered in the opening, if you want to ask questions, the best way to do that is through the Conferences IO app. And as those start coming through, actually, why don't I take the first opportunity? I can give you our first CPE code of the day for this session. And the first CPE code is 923. 923. And one last time, the CPE code, the first CPE code for the session is 923. And as questions start to come in, first of all, Chair Williams, thank you for that, and I thought it would be helpful. I know you mentioned it, you touched on it some little bit in your remarks, but all the different resources that the PCAOB has been putting out of late to assist folks in the room and other auditors of either smaller businesses or larger ones, the different implementation resources that we are providing, and it'd probably be worthwhile for you to go over and talk a little bit more about everything that we're making available to them.
Sure, thanks, Kent. So the PCAOB is very committed to supporting smaller firms, not only to drive audit quality and protect investors, but also as we are implementing new rules and standards. And as I mentioned, our Office of the Chief Auditor has put out a number of really valuable tools and will continue to do so. Some of them include anonymous knowledge checks or quizzes. We have guidance documents. We have videos featuring our staff. And those are just the beginning. We are going to continue to put out new information as the implementation date for QC 1000 and other standards becomes closer. We also, as I mentioned, are having these smaller firm forums. The first one is coming up in Washington, D.C. in May, and then there's another one in Dallas, Texas, so I encourage you to take advantage of those. They're going to be both in-person and virtual. And as I also talked about, a number of these resources are available. There are a number of resources available on our website. And so please subscribe to updates, because as new resources become available, then you will know, because it will be updated on the website and you'll get an alert as to that. And I just want to emphasize that as we are providing these resources, we really do want to hear from you. And you don't have to do it at a forum. Please reach out. We have a hotline on our website. You can reach out to us by phone. You can submit an online form. You will hear back from our staffs, and so please take advantage of that.
Great. And then the other, I think, one of the more significant things of note recently were, and you mentioned them in your remarks, were the improvements in deficiency rates that we've seen recently. And I sort of just interested in what your personal views are, what some of the drivers of those might be.
Sure. So, protecting investors through the quality audits is our mission. And when we released these reports on Monday of the 2024 audit inspection results, I was pleased to see that there's significant improvement in the deficiency rates. And through our staff's discussion with firms during the inspection process and otherwise, we have come to learn that there are a few different drivers of that, and they're highlighted in the spotlight that we put out on Monday. Some of them include more in-person work. The firms are requiring some of their staff to do more of the engagement in person. There are also more targeted training by the firms, especially for more junior staff. We have heard from firms that they are also providing more resources, especially national office resources for the G&F firms. And then there's also more supervision and review. And all of that, I think, has actually really helped to improve the deficiency rates. Additional details about the good practice that we've seen, again, are in the spotlight. Some of the other things that we have been doing at the PCAOB in order to help drive improvement in audit quality and really encourage firms to improve is that we're continuing to meet with audit committee chairs. In every inspection that we do, we try to meet with the audit committee chair of the issuer whose audit is being inspected. We met with 200 of them last year and the year before, and we also have other forums where I meet with audit committee chairs. We have members of audit committees on our advisory groups. That's a key resource for us. We have launched a firm culture initiative for the G&F firms where we're looking really at whether and how tone at the top can impact audit quality. We also put out this last year new remediation guidance. We want to, through the remediation process, work with firms so that they can improve those quality control deficiencies so that they don't end up in the inspection report. And if you haven't taken a look at the information that we have in that new remediation guidance, I encourage you to do so. That's also on the website. And then also, we're working to just make sure that we provide information to you and other stakeholders more quickly. So we got these inspection reports out 5 months earlier than the reports we put out last year, which was 6 months earlier than the ones before that. We know the sooner that you can get these inspection reports and other stakeholders as well, the more you can use the information in them. And so we're continuing to try to get information out. And then as we put it on our website, we've enhanced the website with new tools so that you can compare inspection results and you can really use the website to help you as you're working to improve your deficiency rates, and as investors are working to try to compare firms. So we're going to continue to do that work as well to provide more transparency.
Yeah, it's great. It's amazing how much goes into it, and I think a lot of it is testimony to the work of our inspectors, our Division of Registration and Inspection. So I just didn't know if you had anything, any comments on the work that they've been doing, and not just recently, but have been doing since the PCAOB has been around.
I'm always happy to talk about our expert staff. Our inspectors are really the model of the world, and we actually go around to when we're working on international inspections, and we do inspections side by side with international regulators. Sometimes it's because their laws require it, but also because they want to learn from our inspectors. A lot of them have modeled their inspection programs on the PCAOB inspection program, which, as you note, has been probably the cornerstone of how we protect investors since we were created more than 20 years ago. We're always looking to try to innovate that program and make more enhancements, again, by putting our inspection reports out earlier, by including more information in those reports. A few years ago, we added some information about independence, and by also enhancing the website. But yes, our staff continues to amaze me every year. They're very expert at what they do, and I hope that you all, during inspections at your firms, really take time to interact with them. We want to hear from you. If there's a deficiency that you think isn't appropriate, talk to the inspectors about it. Give them information as to why you think the deficiency isn't appropriate. And then through the comment form process and other processes, including your formal response, we take those very seriously. It's not just the inspection team that does the inspection, but senior leadership in the inspection program, and ultimately the board that is reviewing the comment forms and information before it goes into the inspection report. And we want to make sure that we get it right.
Great, thank you. Before we get in, and some questions are coming in, which is great to see, and we'll get to those in a second. But before we get to those, The second CPE code for this session is 177. 177. And again, finally, the second CPE code for this session is 177. Okay, great. And as I said, continue to send your questions in via the Conferences IO app, and we'll start getting to those as well. This one always comes up because we are speaking in part to auditors of broker-dealers. So if there are, one of the questions is there any update on a potential permanent inspection program for auditors of broker-dealers?
Well, thank you for that question. I know that is always top of mind. I don't have any new information on that today, but what I can say is that our inspection program for broker-dealers is incredibly important. We've been doing it for many years now. I think it provides really valuable information to the market, and we are committed to continuing to do this and to make sure that we're doing it right and to continue to enhance it. So as far as making it permanent, I can't give any information, but know that it is an extremely important part of our inspection process and will be continuing.
Great. And then I'm going to kind of smush together a couple different questions that come in, and one you raised in a previous answer, and that is, how does the PCAOB staff determine which firms to inspect and then which audits to review once you get into an inspection?
Sure. So by statute, we are required to inspect firms that audit 100 or more issuers every year, and then other firms every 3 years. With respect to those who audit broker-dealers, we have had a mix of numbers throughout the years, and in addition to how many firms we inspect, but also to the number of issues that we're looking at. What I can say is when we're determining which audits to look at, we're really looking at potential risk to customer funds and also securities. We do a mix of random and risk-based inspections every year throughout all of our inspection programs. And we are considering in those risks, risk to, as I noted, the securities and customer funds in the broker-dealer program, but there are a number of other risks that we look at when it comes to other issuers. And every year we are thinking about what the percentage of risk-based should be, what the percentage of random should be. But we want to make sure that we are being consistent with that and that we are really being thoughtful, because we want to make sure that our inspection results are providing the most valuable information, both to you as the firms, but also to investors.
Great. Okay. So couple coming in here. Could you comment on the impact or any work that you or the board are doing looking into what has become a recent trend of private equity investment in public accounting firms, and then perhaps maybe your thoughts on specifically any longer-term impacts on audit quality?
Yeah, no, thanks for that question. This is an issue that we have been focused on. We had last year in our investor advisory group an entire panel dedicated to looking at private equity investment in audit firms. I have asked board member George Bodick to conduct a research project related to this, and he is continuing to do that. If we have information that we'll be able to provide out, we will do so. But he's been very engaged in that project for a number of months now. This is also an area that we're part of the International Forum of Independent Audit Regulators, or IFER. It's an issue that IFER has been looking at as well, and we've been participating in those activities. And as part of board member Bodick's work, he has been talking to a number of stakeholders, both private equity firms, also audit firms, professors who've been studying this issue. A number of them were also participants, those variety of stakeholders were participants in our advisory group. Ultimately, our focus and mission is audit quality, And so when we're studying these issues, that's what we're looking to determine if there's any impact on audit quality.
Great. I saw one, I'll just make a note, maybe there is on the clarifying the 14-day rule for AS 1000. Why don't we, Brian, why don't we remember when our colleagues at OCA, we'll flag that and follow up, whoever, I don't know if you're here or online, we'll make sure that our staff at OCA covers that during their session. You mentioned a couple different times the sort of the two-way interaction within an inspection itself, and a question has come in to ask you to expand upon that. Is there an outlet for a firm to reach out to someone else at the PCAOB while a firm is being inspected if it disagrees with what inspectors are saying about their work during the inspection?
Thank you for that question. So we are very serious about wanting to hear from firms, both during the inspection process and otherwise. During the inspection process, our inspectors come in and they do interact very closely with the engagement team at the firm. And that is an opportunity as they are discussing what they're looking in the focus areas to provide feedback to them. Ultimately, they will draft a comment form, but that comment form does go to the firm, and the firm has an opportunity also at that point to discuss whether or not, based on, and we're looking for like actual information and facts, they feel that the comment may not be apt. And we at the PCAOB take all those comment forms very seriously. We have access to all the comment forms before they get put into the report. And as PCAOB board members, we are very much reviewing that information. We're considering the report. But the comment form process is also very detailed. Information does not get placed in a comment form until it's gone through multiple levels of review within the PCAOB. And ultimately, if something is placed in a comment form, the firm has an opportunity to provide a response. And we also review those responses carefully. Ultimately, if the board determines that a deficiency should be in the report, and the report is issued, then the firm does have an opportunity at that point to provide a response. We do take those into consideration. And then if the report is voted out with that deficiency in it, ultimately firms have the opportunity to appeal to the SEC. But before all of that process happens, it's really critical to talk to the engagement team. We want to get all of the information that you have, and we want to make sure that we're getting it right. And I can tell you from personal experience, hearing from firms as to their views on potential deficiencies has caused the staff from time to time and or the board to determine that a deficiency shouldn't be in a report. And so we very much value that back and forth and want to encourage that collaboration during the inspection process.
Great, thank you. So we've got about 10 minutes left. So before we get into the sort of the final tranche of questions, the third CPE code for this session is 148. 148. 148. Okay, one, let's see, has come in here. With the change in administration in Washington, are there any changes in inspection priorities of the PCAOB that are being considered?
Well, thanks for that question. So we, of course, are independent, but we work very closely with the SEC. We always say that the SEC is our regulator. We know that there's a nominee for the chair of the SEC, Paul Atkins. I reached out to congratulate him when he was nominated, and I told him that the PCAOB very much looks forward to continuing to work with the SEC. Under acting chair Ueda, we have a very close working relationship, as I do with the other commissioners, Commissioner Peirce and Crenshaw at the SEC. We have not had any changes, related to administration that would impact our inspection program. But what I can say is that we're always looking to try to improve the inspection program. And as I noted, we just got our inspection reports out much faster, which I know is something that the SEC had been interested in, as well as many stakeholders. So we're very open to feedback, but as of right now, there are no changes that are being planned. Of course, when a new SEC chair comes in, I look forward to sitting down with him and hearing about his priorities for the PCAOB and continuing to work collaboratively with the SEC.
Great. And I know a couple of different questions, so why don't we just sort of take these all in one? And is if there provide any update to the audience here or online on the PCAOB agenda? I know many folks here are curious about some of the more commented on standards proposals since you've been chair and since the PCAOB is in existence. NOCLAR, firm engagement metrics, or firm reporting?
Thanks for that question. So transparency and stakeholder engagement are really important to us as we are coming up with our rulemaking and our standard setting agenda. Our agenda is on our website. You can go and take a look at it. We do update it at least twice a year. One of the projects that had been on there, and you can see on the website now, is noncompliance with laws and regulations, or NOCLAR. Last year we put out guidance to help ensure that investors are protected as firms comply with the current standard on noncompliance with laws and regulations. And so I think that guidance has been very useful. I encourage firms to continue to review it and to make sure that they are complying with the current standard. We have no action planned on NOCLAR in the future, but we are going to continue to talk to the SEC and stakeholders to determine what might be done with respect to modernizing that standard. And then you mentioned also firm and engagement metrics and firm reporting. Those are still on our agenda. We've been working with the SEC and with stakeholders to find a path forward for that information to provide more transparency to investors. I think that one of the things that we want to make sure we're doing is providing a standard that will earn the support of the SEC and their commissioners. And so our work in that area continues. We want to continue to hear from you. Any action that we take, of course, on standard setting and rulemaking is public, and we provide notice in advance of open meetings on those. An opportunity for public comment. We have heard from a number of smaller firms on all of those projects, and I just encourage you to continue to provide us feedback and comment, because ultimately our goal is to make sure that we get those rulemaking standard setting projects right.
Thanks. So I guess maybe two questions, and these will be a little more forward-looking. So, if you're looking out and what you see, one is, are there any notable challenges you see in the current environment that you're thinking about, that these auditors should be thinking about, or maybe the board, the PCAOB should be thinking about? But as you look at the landscape moving forward, is there anything of note of interest?
Sure. So I'll take this in two parts. So one challenge that I think about is really complacency. I am so encouraged by the improvement in the Part 1A deficiencies across all sizes of firms that we inspect that we saw in 2024. This is not the time, though, to take your foot off the gas. This is momentum to continue to improve audit quality. And so, I encourage firms to take advantage of the tools that we're providing, especially as these new standards come into implementation. But I think that, what we've heard from firms, and I mentioned some of the actions that they have been taking, you all have been taking in order to improve audit quality and get those Part 1A deficiency rates down. I'm hopeful that will continue to show forward progress in that area. And then, Kent, you talked about, challenges overall looking to the future. And I think that all of us in this room know that one of the biggest challenges that we have is that fewer students are majoring in accounting. And so that talent pipeline is a real concern, because if we don't have more students majoring in accounting, we can't continue to drive audit quality and ultimately protect investors. Just yesterday, I was at DePaul University meeting with some accounting students, and what I always say when I meet with students is that people say that accounting is boring, but it's not. It's all about protecting people. That's what you all do every day. Our investor protection mission is the same as your mission. We share that mission. And I think that getting that information out so that more students realize that this is a wonderful profession, a valuable profession, an exciting profession, and one that they should be looking to go to is something that I know I'm committed to. I know you all are as well, as is our board, who also meet with students all around the country. For one of the things that we do is, Congress, when they set up the PCAOB, in their wisdom decided that every dollar that we collect in our enforcement penalties goes to scholarships for accounting students. And this board's been committed to providing more scholarships than we ever have in history. We increased the amount of the scholarship to $15,000. We increased the number of the students who are being considered by. We want to make sure that more colleges are taking advantage of it. We have community colleges that we've set aside specially also as part of the program to receive scholarships. And so, we are going to continue to promote our scholarship program and also to try to, provide, if we can, more scholarships. But ultimately, I think it is up to firms, especially some of the larger firms, to continue to think about this. And also, I know that there are organizations like the AICPA and states who are considering what can be done. And I think we all need to work together to improve that pipeline so that we have more students who decide that accounting is a major for them and they might want to go into auditing.
Great. Well, thank you for that. Thank you for your time. Thank you to everyone who submitted a question, and those we weren't able to get to, we will take back and either answer at a future, or in an upcoming session with our staff, as I noted, the one on the 14-day rule, and other additional ones we could probably get to and set aside as well. With that, the final CPE code for this session is 358. 358. 358. Brian, do you want to take a break, just a quick minute break, or can we just break down and get rolling? We're going to keep on going. So again, thank you, Chair Williams, for your time. Thanks for coming in person to Chicago. I know it was important to you. I'm glad we're able to do it. And thank you, everyone, for the great questions.
Thank you.